Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Barleymen, a show in which we explore the worlds of craft beer and whiskey, including the past, present, and future of these legendary libations.
The mission of the Barleymen is to give reverence and homage to the past, to look at what's currently happening and the exciting things that are happening with beer and whiskey, and to look at the future innovations of what beer and whiskey are going to become.
Alright, to start off, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Jason Moore. I'm originally from Vermont. I moved out to Colorado when I was 20 to study graphic design. Well, that was part of it. Actually, a big reason was the mountains. I came out here as a snowboarder because of the Rockies. If it wasn't for the Rockies, I would have gone to a school in New York City. But here I am and here I've been. I love Colorado, I love the West, including the many craft beers you can find in the Denver metro area, which is a hot spot when it comes to the United States brewing scene. We're up there with, I would say, the big ones, which would be Oregon, or Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, San Francisco, Boston. We are one of the big contenders.
In New York, don't forget New York.
Well, New York, of course, yeah, there's a lot of legendary breweries out of New York. One of them we're going to drink today, actually, Ommegang. As well as Brooklyn. We're not going to drink that, but that's another legendary one. I've been interested in craft beer for a long time. I've gone on a few hiatuses, but I keep coming back to it because it's amazing and irresistible. What's my favorite? That's a good question. If it's a session beer, my favorite type of beer would be an IPA. And when it comes to IPA, there's many styles. I'm a big fan of the West Coast IPA. I like a clean, clear, bold IPA with lots of pine, grapefruit, citrus notes.
I mean, that's a bold statement coming from a man who lives where Heady Topper is brewed.
It's true, and you know the funny thing is, I do like a hazy IPA. My brother is like a diehard; that's all he sees. But I like them. I just don't like them as much, and I can't. They're not. It's not a session beer for me. You know.
I get it. I mean, I'm Michael Slover. I am a home brewer, and my favorite beers, of course, are the ones that I brew. I have to tell you, I like IPAs, but I am not super crazy. In fact, I almost prefer anything but an IPA. The darker the beer, the more it's to my liking. We are going to try some of that today. Abbey beers. I love single malt scotches, and recently I've been investigating into the Japanese whiskies. Of course, I have a strong appreciation for American whiskies, including some of our local ones. I think it's important to talk about, really briefly, we are not experts on this subject. We are enthusiasts and we are explorers. Given that currently in the U.S., as of 2021, the statistic was that there was 13,000 at least 13,000 breweries in operation, which essentially means that if you had a single beer from a brewery, one a day, it would take you over 35 years to taste just a beer from every single brewery. I think that it would be a bold statement indeed to claim to be an expert on a field that is so vast. Instead, I get really excited with some of the newest stuff and some of the throwbacks to the past, like Dogfish Head's Midas Touch or the Ancient Ale series. Also, looking at some of those old Abbey ales and the darker stuff. That's really what fascinates me. I see beer as a vehicle to understand humanity, if you will.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Mike said. We are by no means experts. We are simply very passionate enthusiasts who want to share our passion with you guys and explore new beers and whiskeys with you, and let you know what we think about them. And give you some feedback, some beta that you can look at and see and say, hey, do I want to try this whiskey? Do I want to try this beer? Are we the first to do this? By no means no. There are tons of channels that talk about craft beer or whiskey. However, I will say that we are, at least to my knowledge, one of the few and only ones that are going to try to cover both of these big worlds. Because I mean, you're talking about craft beer and whiskey. Both of them are in a boom time right now. This is a golden age for both of them. So to try to tackle both is pretty bold, and it's going to take us a lot. Will we cover everything? No, but we're just going to go, strategically, happy-go-lucky from one thing to another and share our experiences with you.
Yeah, and also something that's going to make this channel different is, look, when you think of beer, the oldest recipes ever found in Mesopotamia are for beer. Not for bread, not for other foods, for beer. There's the theory, in fact, that people became more agrarian and stopped being hunter-gatherers because they needed to cultivate the grains to continue to brew beer. Beer has been a part of humanity for as long as humanity has been able to brew it. Interesting enough, every single culture in their mythos, beer is not something that was discovered, it was a gift from the gods. And if we're going to get really specific, it was a gift from the gods, always from a female goddess to females to brew.
Well, I believe Benjamin Franklin said that beer is proof that God loves us, so that definitely ties in with what you just said.
Interesting enough about that quote, he never actually said it.
That's a lie then.
It is a fictitious lie that is posted in almost every bar in
I
Africa.
have seen that in so many different places. But I will say this, that aside, beer has been part of humanity for at least 10,000 years. And when you think about that, it's amazing. It's part of our DNA, really.
And I think that's what's really exciting about beers, is when we look at what's currently going on with a lot of the independent breweries, what we're really looking at is the exploration of what it is to be human. They did a study in the 1950s trying to find out what is the beer that people want. But the simple answer to this, and I'm stealing this directly from A Brewer's Tale, the simple answer for this is that all of it. All of it. You want to brew a beer with juniper berries? It's odd, but somebody out there is going to love it. And that's what we're hoping to do with you, is we're hoping to take you guys on the journey with us as we explore some of the more interesting, diverse, and legendary beers and whiskeys.
We live in a really exciting age right now. I call it the golden age of connoisseurism. Just the fact that we, in pretty much all parts of the world, we have access to foods and drinks that once upon a time you had to travel on a plane to get to. You had to travel to Europe or California or Japan. Whereas now, I can get Japanese whiskey, I can get Heady Topper from Vermont. I don't have to drive, overnight to get it, for the limited release that they have at the brewery. I can get it on a weekly basis at my local liquor store. I can get fine Japanese whiskeys, pretty much every type of single malt scotch there is. And it extends to food as well. Of course, that's not our focus here. Our focus is just beer and whiskey, but we truly live in an amazing age right now. And you see that people, because of the explosion, that people are trying, brewers and distillers alike are trying to differentiate, and they're trying to go forward, but at the same time they're also going back, trying to revive these ancient recipes, which both Mike and I are very fascinated and passionate about, bringing back these breweries from centuries ago.
Oh yeah, I am super excited about the gruits I'm going to be brewing later this year, and using very localized herbs and spices to make a really true gruit. But I have to give a nod at that point to Dogfish Head Brewing Company, because some of their ancient ales, right, although maybe not as exciting as some of the newer stuff that you can get, is a straight homage to the past, and I have a lot of respect for that connectivity in human. Because good beer, in my opinion, good beer captures a moment. Good beer helps fulfill something about who we are as human beings. Musically, people can sometimes hear a song and it takes them right back to when they very first heard it. I would argue that whenever I have a Pliny the Elder, that it brings me right back to your garage, and the first time you introduced me to it as you were trying to increase my love of IPAs.
Well, indeed, a lot of people say that. There's a big connection. Another ancient thing that connects to humans is music, right? Mm-hmm. Ancient goes way, way back. There's a lot of people draw connections between both beer and whiskey to music, and when they're drinking different styles and different expressions, they relate it to music. Oh, this is punk rock, or this is classical, or whatever. So it's kind of interesting how those weave together, music and fine beers. And
I mean, I absolutely take that into account when I brew. If I'm making an Irish stout, I might play flogging Molly for 12 hours straight while I make it and while it sits there overnight and starting the fermentation. Not for the several weeks it's going to take to fully ferment, but for sure I believe there's a power infused. And I think that's not just the ingredients, I think it is what the brewer does, both what he does right and what he does wrong. Like mistakes can sometimes make a beautiful beer, and I think the same thing happens when we get into the whiskeys. Like my very favorite go-to cheaper whiskey would be Glenmorangie. Now, is that because they have the largest stills, the largest copper stills of any distillery in Scotland? I don't know.
As high as a giraffe.
Yeah. I mean, but I really love it. It's on my all-time favorite. We brought those today. In fact, I think we should talk about our favorites.
All right, well, so both Mike and I share a love for the Islay whiskeys. Now, Islay whiskeys are super famous for being smoky from the peat, for having that seaweed iodine flavor. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But anyway, they're a love it or hate it thing. A lot of people hate Islay whiskeys. When they have them, all they taste is, they taste smoke, sometimes they taste medicinal,
The
Band-Aids. So for a lot of people, it's a total turnoff. And as soon as they try it, they're like, nope, I'm going to go back to the sweeter Highlands or the Speyside. But for a select few...
Wait, before you move on with that, even when you first tried...
When
you first tried the Islands, you were like... You were like, no.
So let's backtrack. Yeah, he's totally right. When I first tried the smoky whiskeys, I hated them. Talisker 10, one of my ancestors is actually from the Isle of Skye, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to totally love this. I hated it. First time hated it, second time hated it, but then a weird thing happened.
That's not weird.
No.
That is beautiful.
Well, so I did a lot of deep diving on whiskeys to buy, and this was one that came up, and my friend Mike here was in a liquor store, and he's like, what should I get? And I recommended this, Lagavulin 16, which I had read a lot of good stuff about. I tried that, and that changed my life. As far as peated, smoky whiskeys, that changed everything. I had that, loved it, and then I went back to Talisker 10, and the craziest thing, I love that now too, which is astounding.
So something to consider is that when we talk about whiskeys and we talk about the various regions and the differences in their tastes and their palates, is that a first-time go isn't always the end for somebody, but it is an acquired taste.
Yes.
And much like what I was talking about with beer, a good whiskey takes you back to a time and place. It gives you an image, it's a story in your mind. See, alcohol is the vehicle of connecting to parts of our humanity that we don't necessarily express, and it's been believed that way for thousands of years. So we today I brought the Lagavulin 16, because if I had to pick the favorite for our first episode, this is it. It's Lagavulin 16. It is everything that a Scotch should be, and we're going to taste it, and we're going to talk about it. And you brought...
I brought the next door neighbor, and I don't know, this could be my favorite, or that. These are, like I said, they're next door. They're part of what's called the Kildalton Trio. There's 3 distilleries right along the southeastern coast of Islay. There is Laphroaig, Lagavulin, and Ardbeg. Those 3 are the legends of Islay, the most famous, the most vaulted. I've tried a lot of Islas, including this wonderful one that he's opening right now. Laphroaig 10, to me, is my favorite. However, I haven't put it head-to-head against the Lagavulin 16, and so we'll see.
Which we're about to do.
Which we're about to do.
I mean, this would not be much of a beer and whiskey show if we didn't actually taste some stuff.
No.
So,
and I think
you would be so kind as to pour 2 little tastes of Laphroaig in there, and I will pour a couple of tastes of Lagavulin 16.
How high are we going on these?
I mean, we want to keep them small.
Okay.
I think the idea here is just so that we can taste and compare. So think about 2 sips, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, taste and compare, because we have some beers to get through as well.
I'll give you the bigger one on that one.
Oh, sure. Alright, then I'm giving you the bigger one on this one.
Okay.
Alright, so what we have here in front of us is we have a Lagavulin 16 and we have the Laphroaig 10. And which do you want to start with?
Oh goodness, I don't know. But first off, I just want to mention real quick that these are Glencairn glasses, and I've tried several different types of glassware for Scotch, and I like a good tumbler. That's great. But for doing reviews, for tasting, for nosing, these are pretty much the premier glasses. So let's start and just nose both of them.
Yeah. So I'm nosing the Lagavulin 16 right here.
Oh yeah.
By the way, for those of you who are not experienced when it comes to Scotch or even beer tasting, the very first thing, you're looking for a couple of things. And when we rate our beers and our things, we are going to be talking about these.
Yes. There's several different processes, but basically the one that we're going to do is this. This is, and then we'll follow this procedure going forward. Sorry. There's 5 points. The first is the look. Okay, we're going to look at it. Now, let me be honest with you. With whiskey, this is kind of a joke. The look part is not a big part with whiskey because there's very little variation with that. Although there are subtle nuances which we will get into. Look comes into play with beer. It's a huge factor with beer. Not as big because most of these guys are colored artificially with caramel E150A, which is fine. We'll get into that at a later time. But anyway, so
the whole controversy.
Yeah. So the first is look. Then you've got the nose, which we smell. Then there's the palate, which is the taste, the mouthfeel. Then we've got the finish. And then finally, overall, what do we think about everything together? What's our opinion? Do we hate it? Do we love it?
And I have to say that we are adding in a 6th category that we will add into every single one of our tastings.
What's this?
Our 6th category is the coolness factor.
Oh!
Because alcohol is really talking about a story of places, times, and efforts, it would be irresponsible of us not to talk about some of the legends and things that are whispered, right? Like, it's part of the image, the story.
All right, that's a great idea. All right, so we're going to talk about the coolness or legendary factor. These two whiskeys that we have in front of us right here are two of the most legendary. And I would argue, I mean, they are in the top 5. That one's, Lagavulin 16 is probably the most legendary, but Laphroaig 10 is right up there, and so is Ardbeg 10. These two have a lot of fans, and we're talking fervent fans. These are both cult whiskeys, and there's not that many cult whiskeys. These two are.
Yeah, and I have to really briefly about my Lagavulin 16 here. I have to tell you, one of the cult fans, who also happens to be a celebrity, is Nick Offerman. So much so that Lagavulin makes a very special Offerman offering. They've done 3 so far, and they're like, well, we'll have some of that on a future show. And you can't get cooler than Nick Offerman. You just can't.
So, okay, all right, let's go into
So we're nosing the Lagavulin.
So, Lagavulin in the nose is phenomenal.
Oh my goodness, is it?
Like, very complex.
I can smell very nice Old English leather.
Yes, leather is prominent.
Very much so, but there's also a almost sea tang.
Oh, there is. It's very marine, salty, smoky, definitely getting the peat.
Yeah, I mean, that's just an incredible nose on that. Let's talk about the
Laphroaig.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this is not so leather. I can't smell leather forward at all.
No, this is more. I'm getting way more seaweed and iodine. It's medicinal.
Oh no, yeah, this is the coast.
Yeah.
Let's start with Laphroaig.
Okay, let's go.
Right, so we've smelled it.
Slanche.
Let's talk about how it tastes and mouthfeel. I'm going to tell you guys, so if you're not used to tasting it, what you do is when you very first put it in your mouth, you're going to push it with your tongue to the top of your palate. Deep inhale, I'll give you the fullest expression of the flavor, and then you're going to relax and you're going to feel where it goes in the mouth, and you're going to be able to discern some specific tastes.
One thing that I like to do actually with the whiskeys is I swish it around a lot. So it like permeates every part of my mouth, and then as I open to get air, I don't know, it just feels like it fills everywhere and I get a more, I don't know, encompassing view of the taste.
So this to me, it's good. It's clean. Very much kind of that marine-y. Like I feel like, to me it feels like I can taste kind of that iodine. It kind of sizzles a little on the tongue.
Yes, one of my favorite things about this is it's got like a menthol kind of smoothness to this. I get menthol notes from this.
Oh, but it also, I mean, it has like a mellow wood in it.
Yeah.
And a little bit of caramel notes as well.
Yeah, there is a little bit of sweetness underneath the smoke, and some people I've read get some floral notes. I don't really get the floral notes, but I do get some. Yeah, I'm definitely getting oak.
Mm-hmm.
Like musty.
It's got that mellow wood.
Yeah, like almost like musty, like barn beams.
I mean, to me, this is sitting on the beach having a barbecue.
Yeah.
In the late afternoon. That's the best way I can describe the emotional feeling that it's giving me. Good friends, barbecue, that smoke, and you have the beautiful views and the sand and the beach and the sun. I love it. All right, going to my boy, the Lagavulin 16.
All right.
Again,
oh yeah.
Like, I mean,
rich leather.
Oh yeah. So this has, in my opinion, a much more full body. That just hit my mouth, and it's warming, and it's full, and this is leather, and this is smoke, and this is being in an old boys English club, hidden away, sitting in luxury. That's Lagavulin 16. I mean, I can taste the wood too in there, I think.
I'm getting all that too. It's definitely got more depth, more body, and I'm getting more menthol, which I actually really like in an Isla. So I'm getting way more of a menthol blast from this. So, okay, it was a question for me. I had a feeling that was my favorite. So I'm changing it. Lagavulin 16, numero uno. Laphroaig 10, dos.
Lagavulin 16 for the win. Yeah, let's talk about some of the beers that we have.
All right, so we've got 3 beers here.
We have 4. But one we're not.
We do have 4.
One we're not going to taste today because we've had a lot of it. This is Dream. It's from Slover and Sons Brewing Company, which is me personally and my son that helps me. I just had it out here because for sure it's my favorite beer.
I really love the graphic design on that one, Mike.
Yeah, do you?
I do.
It's almost like I knew a graphic designer to design it.
Yeah,
like Jason. No, I think the graphic design really works nicely. It has that. It's almost like a Dune feel.
Yes, that's kind of what I was going for. Yeah.
Okay, but then we're not having that today. Let's talk about the ones we are having.
Okay, so this one lately has been my go-to. This is Firestone Walker. This is the Union Jack IPA. Firestone Walker's out of California, and I haven't actually, to be honest, had much of their line. I've only had 2. This is only one of the 2 that I've tried, but I love this. I've compared this with several other West Coast IPAs, and I really like this. These little mini goblets. These are actually bought for whiskey, but you know what? For tasting beer, I think these are excellent. I got these at Crate and Barrel, and they're only like $2 a piece. Nice.
It's a great deal.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Okay, so the first thing we're talking about is the color, and that is a golden.
Oh yeah, it's bright gold. You've got there's nothing in it, no particulates. It's clean. It's absolutely clear.
Now I will say it's a little disappointing. The head fades out pretty quick, but the bubbles are of different sizes.
You've got ample carbonation. You can see the bubbles, ample plumes. And that's actually common with a lot of the IPAs that your head is going to diminish quickly. That's not something to really worry about.
Nosing it hops for sure.
Oh, hop forward, yes. And I'm getting grapefruit. I'm getting pine.
Yeah, definitely citrus.
Definitely Pacific Northwest. This is coming straight out of Yakima.
Maybe Columbia?
Could be.
Cascade?
Could be Cascade. I'm not sure. Yeah, probably some of the old classics.
Yeah. So let's give it a simple. Very light mouthfeel. Effervescent.
Exact same word. Effervescent. Yes, that's the first thing I think of when I drink it. It's lifting, it's clean, it's light, effervescent.
It's there for a moment, then it's gone.
Yeah. Very nice. Nicely balanced. Excellent finish. There's no astringency, which, by the way, I don't know if I said earlier, I go for a couple things when it comes to beer. Balance, I'm a big fan of balance. I love a balanced beer, and I also hate astringency. I'm the same with coffee, actually. I don't like bitter coffee. That's why I like Sumatra. I love a clean, non-acidic finish.
Now, let's do the Ommegang next.
Oh my goodness. All right, so now we are shifting gears heavy.
Completely.
Tell me, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know anything about this beer.
So this is Ommegang's 25th anniversary ale, right? So first off, we're moving to an ale. It's an amber ale, and it has orange peels and grains of paradise. So Ommegang, I had their Abbey ale actually just last night, and it was delicious, but it's definitely not a session. Like, this is like, you're going to have, the one and done.
Ooh, look at that. Look at the color on that. Coincidentally, I also tried an Ommegang for the first time last night. I had the Hennepin Saison Ale, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, and so I have not had the 25th anniversary ale yet. This is a first. We got that almost amberish gold color there.
Oh, we're even darker. This is a murky amber. We've got a lot of opacity here. I can't see through it.
Lots of carbonation. I also think maybe
Murky.
when we talk about the head, I think maybe these glasses are not conducive to holding head for very long.
Well, you know what we can do? You swish it around. There we go. There we go.
Let's nose it for a second.
See a bit of a head there.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness. Wow, right.
I can
right
smell
away.
the orange.
I'm getting the coriander. It's almost like an assault to the nose. It is powerful. I don't know if I'm a fan of this. Just based off the nose, right away, it's a little bit intense.
See, to me,
Oh my goodness.
it's definitely spice.
Oh, heavy spice. Like,
It's got that almost hearty feel to it. Let's try it.
I'm a little worried.
Oh, it's much lighter than you would expect from the nose.
Yeah, it's got a medium to light mouthfeel, but oh man, spices abound.
Yeah, it's got a lot of spice, and it's really, it fills up. So it doesn't fill up the mouthfeel, but it fills up that, like I can feel that in the top of my nose. I can feel that. It's very pungent.
There's something about this that it's not exactly my cup of tea, and I don't know if it's the malt, if there's like a little bit of like cloyingness, like the malt's a little cloying, or if it's from the
I mean, the coriander is strong.
very strong. I will say that it's so pronounced. This is probably the most coriander forward beer I've ever had.
All right, let's try the final one.
Okay.
Right, and this one.
Oh my goodness.
This one we picked up specifically because, so this is from Founders Brewery, but it's the Kentucky
Breakfast Stout.
Breakfast Stout. Yep,
This is a legend we haven't had before.
it's a legend. Neither of us have ever tried this before, and I have to tell you, when I was walking through my local liquor store, this had a perfect 100 rating.
From Beer Advocate.
And from Beer Advocate. So I was curious what a perfect 100 rating is going to taste like in a beer. So let's check this out.
Now I'm going to forewarn you, Mike.
Uh-huh.
This has been bottle aged or cask aged.
Yes, and we know
Or
how
barrel aged. Sorry.
we know how we feel about the barrel aging.
I haven't had good experiences yet, but that can always change. Now let's just talk about the color.
Talk about it. Let's talk about it.
I'm holding it right up to the light. Nothing's coming through. This is black. This is darker than Guinness. Although wait, I see a little bit of light coming through. There's a little bit of dark ruby red, but it's very opaque, very dark.
Oh, you can tell it's barrel aged.
Oh yeah, does it got that kind of smoky whiskey or probably bourbon? I bet you get some bourbon notes. Oh goodness, I'm getting heavy barrel aged. I'm also getting cocoa. I'm getting chocolate, coffee. Yeah, I'm getting. Here's the three things that I'm getting. Three things: bourbon barrel. I'm getting coffee. I'm getting chocolate, cocoa.
Let's try it real quick.
All right, here we go.
Actually, I think that this is my favorite barrel aged I've ever had.
I would agree. I've only had a few, and they've all been lackluster. In fact, some of them I hated. But no, this one's nice. This one's well-rounded. And what does it have? Balance, which I love. It's got good balance. It's intense.
It's delightful, though. It has that real coffee chocolate notes come right through.
Oh, yeah. It's a nice mix, actually. This is the first barrel-aged beer I've had that I think is quite excellent, actually. Now, at 12%, I don't think I'm going to be drinking too much of this, but
no,
this is
just to try.
I see the 100. I see it.
But we hope that you will join us next episode as we talk about New Belgium brewing and about the changes in Fat Tire, and we will compare them head to head. So until next time, this is Michael,
Jason,
and never stop exploring.
Cheers.
Yeah, that Kentucky bourbon.
Wow.